My name is Eric Tchetgen Tchetgen. I'm a professor of statistics and biostatistics at the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm here for the program on causal inference as a Kirk Fellow. It's an immense honor to be here. I sort of looked at some of the previous fellows and what the fellowship represents, and I hope to prove my worth for it. First of all, this is one of the unique times. I mean, I don't remember the last time there was such a number of causal inference experts come together for such an extended period of time. I couldn't miss it for anything in the world, and so I was asked to join, which I promptly accepted. I will be delivering a lecture at the end of the month, which essentially will talk about the inception of some of these ideas and how they apply to the health sciences and the implications for policy and whatnot. Yeah, so this is known as a directed acyclic graph, and it represents a random variable for which we are interested in drawing a causal effect. So A might be a treatment, Y would be a health outcome, and we have observational data. It's non-experimental, and we want to learn whether A causally impacts Y, which is represented by this arrow. And we worry that they might be associated not because they're causally associated, but because there's a common cause. This is U here, that might not be observed. So a typical example of this might be if you look at the relationship over time between ice cream consumption and drowning, the number of drownings in this particular area over time, you might find a very strong correlation. And of course, eating ice cream doesn't cause drowning. The relationship you might find, the correlation you might find is actually due to the fact that in the summer, there are obviously more people swimming and therefore more drownings, and also there is more consumption of ice cream. And so this graph represents this problem of being able to tell them apart, to disentangle what's associational and what's causal. And so with collaborators, we showed that even if such common causes U are not observed, you might still be able to learn about those causal associations, even by finding proxies of those unmeasured common causes. In this case, might be Z and W. And so this is kind of like the canonical example of that theory. So causal inference or causality is actually a fairly universal topic, as you would imagine. There are folks in physics who think about causal inference, in mathematics, in statistics, in biostatistics, in epidemiology, but also in the social sciences, economics. My own focus has been primarily from the perspective of statistical inference. And the focus on statistics is mainly because of the implications for public health, which is my own area of interest. One of the aspects that I find fascinating about causal inference is that it encompasses sort of experimental designs where you have control over the experiment that you wish to implement. So for instance, you might be interested in knowing whether a COVID vaccine works. So the initial evaluation of that was actually done in a randomized trial setting, a very controlled, well-controlled environment where you randomize vaccinated or unvaccinated. And you have, because of randomization, which is essentially a coin flip determines who gets what, the two groups are essentially balanced. They're very similar, exchangeable is the technical term. In those settings, it's fairly straightforward to decide whether or not the treatment works, because the only difference between the two groups is who gets treatment and who doesn't. But eventually, the vaccines are approved and they are rolled out. And there since hasn't been any other randomized trial, a randomized experiment. However, as we know, the virus evolved and the vaccines evolved. We had boosters, and they still need to be evaluated. And so we get to a situation where experimental designs are no longer feasible. So all we have are observational studies, which are not controlled environments. And so you have to then worry about biases. And so the aspect I'm interested in, and my talk will cover, is essentially some of the challenges of biases that arise because we no longer have controlled experiments. So my talk will be about examples and application of this idea that causal inference is an inverse problem, and it's an ill-posed inverse problem. learning from data about things that are more intrinsically true, causal mechanisms. I think I&I is a very special place. I think the fellowship is very special, but the program is also very special because I think it's important for folks thinking about a particular area to have some protected time, and this is a sustained amount of time, to be able to freely focus on those issues. I don't know of many places like I&I that allow you to do this, to have a program that could allow a fairly large group of people to completely be dedicated to advancing their field, learning from each other, and perhaps coming up with new directions of interest.